So what could possibly be evidence for a God? Okay, this is a good question. The first difficulty we have is we don't know what we're looking for. There's no agreement about what a God is like. Unlike, for example, a metal in the periodic table, it has properties that we can identify and recognize when we found it, or unlike a celebrity that has a character that we can, say, oh, there he is, that's him. None of that for God. That each different religion has their own different idea of what their God is like. There's the Unkalunkalu religion, the South African. Tessie will tell me.
Nkulu Nkulu, it just means the big man. I mean, that's how vague it is. It's literally just the big guy, the great spirit, the great spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows what it's like. And I think I've seen pictures of, if not that God, another God being illustrated as a snake with a man's head on it.
So why not? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, essentially what you're talking about here is God of the gaps. God fills the gap in our knowledge that gets smaller and smaller when we have science and experiential reason to explain why phenomena are happening. It was really good to say these phenomena are happening because, Zeus did it, or, Jesus or Moses or, Yahweh, whatever. But those spaces where God exists today are much smaller than 2,000 years ago, which brings up the idea of why are some of us at least still holding on to those 2,000-year-old beliefs or 5,000-year-old beliefs.
What you're illustrating here is our need for explanations to mysteries.
Right. And because we have this creative mind, it's what makes us human.
Unfortunately, we're not too bothered about whether they're true or not. What we want is
some of us are.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, but what a lot of us are happy with is a good story. And we were talking about this last week with Neria Khan, weren't we? Yeah. So let's this slide. That's the first problem. We don't know what we're looking for. Nobody can agree on what properties or characteristics we should be searching out to find. Now, more difficult to explain than that is the nature of evidence, because there's two schools. There's two schools of thought about what constitutes evidence. There's what constitutes evidence in a court of law, where they accept all sorts of dubious, in my opinion, pieces of say-so. In fact, one of our future guests is an expert in identity parades, where it's been shown, experiments have been done, and it's been shown that the majority of people picked out of identity parades were not the guilty culprits, but nonetheless they were picked out by people who thought that's an ugly looking fellow. So I would contend that what passes as good enough in a court of law is not good enough for providing evidence for the existence of a God. And we know this is the case, and that's why we have appeal courts, because we know courts make bad decisions sometimes and they should be challenged and reversed.